We kind of divided the outcome into like 3 parts. Like our group felt that the main cause was to help the Icelanders to get more use and quality out of our product. In Sweden, the lesson was a lot about the management part, and in Denmark, it was on the outcome: tools, time, budget, and practical experience. In Iceland, it was kind of evident that the lack of experience with managing, milling and drying. We have a lot of sitkarsbrús with many knots. We need to manage better the forest stands and to gain knowledge with a book on commercial grading for timber. In Sweden, the learning was a lot on like knowledge of how to manage for better value in your forest, how to plan for the outcome, inspiration on how our resources might look in a few decades. There the industry relies mostly on 2 species, like Norway spruce and Pinus sylvestris. In the other countries there are more species that are being milled. The focus on choosing what kind of lumber and what purpose the stands are planted for the time of harvesting. In Denmark, it's been more practical, how to use the lumber and how to work with it, keeping it clean, stacking, sawing and basic drying. Focus on starting your own small-scale mill and working methods for different kinds of budgets, different kinds of mills, and a lot of practical info on the structure of the line you can use in your sawmill. How you stack differently, what kind of lumber, how to treat your sticks, and like many of these small points that I at least will, take home and really take to heart. Like the simple things of like the foundation that we built for stacking, the logistics of the flow of wood into and out of the mill, and how to get the most value out of every log. Inspiration from seeing the setup of the small-scale mills, I thought that was very valuable. Kind of being open to the value of what you can grow, like poplar, for instance. That can be quite valuable, even though it's not conventional in the Scandinavian industry.
Higher quality of timber and all of the product, how we are going to get it, better forest maintenance the whole way from the beginning, better technique of sawing and drying, thinning and pruning, and better products. And number 2 was gathering information and learn how to use it for your advantage, learn from others and work together. And number 3 was different types of forests, learn to use the biodiversity of the forest to your advantage, not work against it. And we talked about you don't need much to do much. Don't need very expensive things.
I think here in Denmark especially we learn much about these small sawmills. We learn all these little things we have missed. We learn that here, the sharpness of the blades, how you put them up, all these small details that we are maybe not thinking about. So it can make a lot of difference. We also learn, maybe come very much from Iceland, how we can use small material, maybe a second quality material, how we can use it. We don't have to maybe wait, for we have a lot of first class material. We can do many things on that way, both in some building materials and all kind of wood that we needed. We can use it for a table and bench out in the forest, something in the buildings. So that was maybe mostly from the Iceland. In Sweden it was maybe the different view. There we could see in this big product how everything was used up. And then at last how important it is that we come together sometimes or keep in touch, use the internet for the information between these Scandinavian countries. Yeah, that's it.
Average overview of all 3 meetings, what stood up and what we could use, and we found out that we have been in a quite big overview, that everyone can pick out something that fits them and is suited to their needs, because we all have different needs. In Iceland we got grading timber to help us get better quality out of what we are doing. Sorting stocks, it's important to know what you're buying and what you are putting on your saw, what you can get out of the stock before you get sawing. And drying methods, you never know enough about drying, but we got pretty much the basic that we can use and take with us. And we have been in bigger sawmills and bad sawmills and good sawmills, and I think we can take good example for each and every sawmill and puzzle it together to make a better sawmill. That's good to see different variants of sawmills, then you can take home what you need. We also learned how important the customer's needs is and understand the needs of customers. We have many carpenters here in this group, so they have given us a bit of feedback on that too. And we have learned how to improve customer requests by sorting and stacking and everything. Dan told us how to grow good stocks. That is really important, but I think most of all we have got a good friendship here and good network connections that we can use in the future. And we had a few ideas about TreProX, production after sawmill.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yes.
What
Thank you very much.
Vores punkter var, det første var hva man kan bruke de forskjellige treslag til. Mange gode ideer og som har kommet frem denne uka her. Det var liksom den første punkten. Så var det bruken av saga, altså praktisk bruk av saga, hvordan man sager en stokk for å få den meste utnyttelse. Og mange store og små detaljer, og som jeg har fortalt noen av dem, vi har jo en Woodmiser og en Locosol rammesag. Spesielt på Woodmiser så har vi byttet sagblad når det er sløv, som vi sier på norsk. Det kan gå noen dager. Så nå har vi lært vi skal 2 blad per dag. Det er ikke en liten detalj, det er en stor detalj. Og så ryker bladene i stykker hos oss, og vi forstår ikke hva er det for noen produksjon det her. Så det er vår feil. Nå har vi lært det. Det tredje punkten, og det er nettverk. Man har reist på mange konferanser i Europa gjennom tiden, og det har vært en dårlig konferanse. Fått lite ut av det. Unntatt én ting, det er nettverket. Som man kan bruke senere. Og i denne gruppa her vet du, jo mange eksperter. Her har vi jo en ekspert på tørking. Jeg kommer til å sende han noen linjer og noen spørsmål. Uten tvil. Så nettverket er veldig viktig, og jeg håper at dere når slutter prosjektet nå at bruker nettverket som dere har opprettet her i denne gruppa her, fra Sverige, Danmark og Island.
We started quite a few years ago, and now we're here. There were no 1PROX and 2PROX. We're at the end of this. Now we're at the end of TreProX. It seems like everybody has got something with them home from here. I have the feeling that no one is standing and thinking, well, this was an absolutely waste of time. I hope not, at least.
I'll start with the networking, because that all groups seem to talk about networking, and we also talked about it, especially that we have this group with very different backgrounds, where we have practical people and theoretical people mixed, and I think pretty much both sides learn from the others equally much. This networking, where the small-scale sawmillers get to know each other and know which one to talk to get advice about production and so on. That I think is extremely important, where they exchange experiences and so on. This week in Denmark, I think it's been very, very valuable to have these Woodmiser people go through in detail the tricks and the do's and the do-nots with the Woodmiser. And that can be transferred to other types of sawmill equipment also. Someone mentioned about the layouts of the small sawmills, and that is something that I think we should look into more. How should you arrange your small production without breaking your back and without transporting everything 10 times before you sell it? The drying issues was mentioned also. We know more about what can be done and what cannot be done. And for myself, coming from the theoretical part, to hear the lecture about outdoor drying, how it's done and how it works. In theory, it should not work. But the question is, should we believe in theory or reality?
The bumblebee cannot fly.
No. And today, for instance, and also before, we've seen that if you have a low investment, it opens up for new possibilities. You can get a life instead of a career. You're not forced to expand and earn money and so on. If you just, you saw some logs and then you go to the beach and then you saw another log and go to the pub or whatever you do. It's another way of life and another kind of business. And that part I think is very, very important too. And from Iceland, we learned that we're not talking about a new industry. We're talking about a handful of people, a handful of individuals that starts from zero and build a completely new industry. And that's quite heavy. You can look at other countries' experiences and see what is possible to build, what is possible to do. And there we come to the future, really, about the new wood species that are out there. We have contorta, sitka, poplar, birch that now is not really used for construction. But I think there we have a call to help the use of those trees for these small sawmills, and also for Europe and the global issues about global warming, get enough wood to build and so on. And the second part is we've seen a lot of small sawmills and we need to increase the value of the product coming out of them. Like what can we do on a relatively small scale to maybe take the next step in the value chain, or are there other ways of selling the products and so on. This sawmill we saw today, where he did not advertise, the customers came to him and he sold directly to his customers with no middle hands and so on. It's organization, it's how you sell, it's the product, what you have and so on, that is the issue, I think.
One more thing, and I know Björn, he's always very humble, but I think we should mention it here now at the end of TreProX again, that I call him maybe not the father, but the grandfather of TreProX, and hopefully of like further collaborations. So I think a lot of ideas that you've been working with for many, many years finally led to this, where we are standing today. So I think you earned a lot of credits for this, for enabling this, just by your ideas and your belief to realize this project. So thank you very much, Björn. Thank you. But he's a student only now.
Intervju. Ég er náttúrulega ekki nemi.